October 14th, 1943, 10:32 a.m. Over central Germany, near Schweinfurt. The sky is already crowded. Engines first. A distant vibration, low and growing, like thunder that refuses to fade. Then the shapes appear, high above the scattered clouds, tight formations of B-17 flying fortresses stretching across the horizon. Aluminum bodies catch the pale autumn sun, glinting in cold flashes. They move with mechanical precision, box formations stacked and interlocked, each bomber guarding the other with overlapping fields of .50 caliber fire. Inside one of those bombers, the air is thin and metallic. Sergeant Daniel Reeves presses his oxygen mask tighter against his face. Frost crawls along the inside of the fuselage, tracing jagged patterns over rivets and panels. At 25,000 feet, the temperature has dropped far below freezing. His gloved hands hover near the waist gun, fingers stiff, eyes scanning the endless blue. Nothing yet, but everyone knows. They're deep inside Germany now. No escort, no turning back. The intercom crackles alive. A clipped voice, calm but strained. Keep your eyes open. Fighters expected. Expected. That word hangs heavier than altitude. Ahead, the formation holds steady. Dozens, no, hundreds of bombers. The largest daylight strike yet attempted. Their target lies ahead, the ball-bearing factories of Schweinfurt, a critical artery of the German war machine. Destroy it and tanks stall. Aircraft falter. The entire system slows. That's the theory. But theory doesn't fire back. A sudden flicker to the left. Reeves squints through the plexiglass. At first, it's nothing, just movement. Then the shapes sharpen, fast, sleek, cutting upward through the sky. Fighters. 9 o'clock. The call spreads instantly, echoed across radios and intercoms. Gunners snap to position. Turrets begin to rotate, mechanical whines cutting through the constant drone of engines. They're here. Messerschmitt Bf 109s. Focke-Wulf 190s. Climbing hard, coming in fast. The first pass is surgical. German fighters streak to the outer edges of the formation. Cannons blazing. Bright flashes puncture the sky, tracer rounds slicing to the air in glowing lines. One B-17 on the far left jerks violently, its wing erupting in flame. No time to watch. More are coming. Reeves grips the twin handles of his machine gun. His world narrows to a thin arc of sky. Searching, waiting. The oxygen mask muffles his breath, but his heart pounds loud enough to hear. Another wave, this time head-on. A formation of Bf-109s charges directly toward the bombers, closing at terrifying speed. Nose-mounted cannons open up, heavy rounds slamming into the lead aircraft. Plexiglass shatters. Metal tears. One fortress disintegrates midair, fragments spiraling away into nothing. Fire! Fire! The sky erupts. Every gun that can bear opens up. The calm formation dissolves into chaos. Streams of tracers crisscrossing in violent geometry. Reeves fires in control bursts, tracking a fighter as it slices past. Too fast a hold. He doesn't know if he hit it. Doesn't matter. Another one replaces it instantly. Below, flak begins to bloom. Black bursts of anti-aircraft fire rise from the ground, expanding into thick, deadly clouds. Each explosion sends shards of steel ripping outward at lethal speeds. The bombers fly straight into it. No evasive maneuvers. They can't break formation. They can only endure. The first concussion hits like a hammer. The aircraft jolts, a violent shudder that rattles every bone. Reeves slams against the side of the fuselage, teeth clenching. A second burst follows, closer this time, the shockwave punching through the thin aluminum skin. Shrapnel screams past. Somewhere forward, a man is yelling. The intercom fills with overlapping voices, fragments of panic commands, curses. The pilot fights to keep the aircraft level, hands locked on the controls as the fortress pushes through the storm. Outside, the sky has changed. It's no longer blue. It's black. Black with smoke, with explosions, with the debris of aircraft torn apart mid-flight. Burning fragments tumble through the air, trailing fire and oil. Parachutes begin to appear, small white blossoms drifting downward through the chaos. Too many. Far too many. Reeves forces himself to look forward. The formation is thinning. Gaps where bombers used to be. Empty spaces where men were alive seconds ago. And still, they press on, because the target is close now. Schweinfurt, the reason they came, the reason they're dying. Another fighter streaks in from below, guns blazing. Reeves tracks it, fires, watches as tracers connect. For a brief second, the German aircraft wobbles, smoke trailing from its engine. Then it's gone. No time to confirm. No time to think. The bombardier's voice cuts through the noise. Target in sight. Everything tightens. This is the moment. The entire mission, every loss, every risk, leading to this single point. But the sky ahead is worse. Denser flak. More fighters. A wall of fire waiting directly over the target. And they are flying straight into it. No deviation. No escape. Just forward. Always forward. Reeves swallows hard, eyes fixed on the growing storm ahead. The aircraft vibrates beneath him, engines straining, metal groaning under stress. "10:41 a.m. The formation holds, but only just. The bombers press deeper toward Schweinfurt, and the sky ahead seems to close in on them. What was once scattered flak has become a wall. Black bursts now detonate with frightening precision, timed and ranged by experienced German batteries below. The air itself feels weaponized. Inside Reeves B-17, the noise is constant. Engines roar at full power, but they're no longer dominant. Now it's a crack of flak bursts, the hammering rattle of machine guns, the metallic scream of stress tearing through aluminum skin. Another concussion. Closer. The aircraft lurches violently to the right. Reeves slams his shoulder into the fuselage, pain flaring, but he doesn't react. He can't. His eyes stay locked outside, scanning for movement, for shapes, for anything that means another attack is coming, because it always is. "Bandits forming low," someone shouts over the intercom. Reeves leans, angling his view downward. There they are, a new tactic. German fighters gathering beneath the bomber formation, staying just out of range. They're not rushing in blindly anymore. They're organizing, coordinating, waiting for the exact moment to strike. Then they climb, fast. Focke-Wulf 190s surge upward, engines screaming, closing the gap in seconds. Their noses tilt upward, cannons already firing before they're fully in range. Bright flashes stab into the belly of the formation. A, B, 17 ahead takes the hit. Direct. The explosion is immediate. Not fire this time, just destruction. The aircraft breaks apart midair, the fuselage splitting as if torn by invisible hands. Debris scatters outward, spinning into the void. No parachutes. Reeves feels his grip tighten on the gun. He tracks one of the climbing fighters, leads it slightly, and fires. The recoil vibrates through his arms. Steady, control bursts. Tracers arc downward, crossing the fighter's path. A hit. Maybe. The FW-190 banks sharply, rolling away, disappearing beneath the formation. Gone, but replaced. Always replaced. Above them, more fighters are assembling. This time, heavy. Twin engine. Bogies high. 12 o'clock. Reeves looks up, straining against the angle. Messerschmitt BF 110s. Larger, slower, but armed with something worse. They don't rush in. They hold position at a distance, just beyond the reach of defensive guns. And then, rockets. Thin trails streak through the air, launched in volleys. They cut straight into the bomber formation, unguided but devastating in volume. One rocket slams into AB, 17 off the right wing. The explosion blossoms outward, engulfing the aircraft in a fireball. Flames tear through the fuselage. And for a moment, the bomber remains intact, burning as it flies. Then the wing gives way. It shears off completely. The aircraft spirals downward, trailing smoke and fire, vanishing into the layers of cloud below. Reeves doesn't speak. No one does. There's no space left for reaction, only survival. The flak intensifies again. Burst after burst. Closer now, more accurate. The Germans have found their range. Each explosion feels deliberate calculated. The formation is flying straight through pre-sighted fire, unable to maneuver without breaking apart. Another hit. This one lands somewhere behind Reeves. A sharp metallic crack, followed by a rush of air. He turns instinctively. The rear section of the fuselage is torn open. A jagged hole exposes the empty sky beyond. Wind howls through the aircraft, violent and freezing, ripping loose papers, gear, anything not secured. And the tail gunner, gone. No shoot, no warning. Just gone. The realization hits harder than the flak. Reeves turns back to his position, forcing his focus outward. There's no time to process it. No time to think about who was there seconds ago, because the next attack is already forming. Stay tight. Stay tight. The pilot's voice cuts through, strained now, pushing against rising panic. The formation compresses, aircraft drawing closer together despite the chaos. It's the only defense they have. Overlapping fire, mutual protection. But it also makes them a better target. Another wave dives in, this time from the rear. High-speed passes, German fighters slicing through formation from behind, firing as they close, then breaking away before the gunners can fully track them. It's methodical, disciplined, relentless. Reeves swings his gun, tracking a Bf-109 as it lines up behind a bomber just ahead. He fires early, forcing the fighter to veer off. Its attack disrupted. For a moment, it works. The bomber ahead survives. But only for a moment. A second fighter comes in from another angle, cannons blazing. The rounds punch straight through the fuselage. The aircraft jerks, then begins to fall back, losing speed. Straggler, the worst place to be. Within seconds, more fighters converge on it, circling, attacking, tearing apart piece by piece. The rest of the formation moves on, unable to help. They can't stop. They can't turn. They can only keep going. Reeves watches for as long as he can. Then it's gone, swallowed by distance, swallowed by smoke. Ahead, the flak grows even thicker. The target is close now, too close. The bombardier's voice returns, sharper this time. Bomb run in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Reeves exhales slowly, the oxygen mask fogging with each breath. His fingers flex against the grips of the machine gun. Try and keep feeling in them despite the cold. 2 minutes of straight, level flight. No evasive action. No deviation. They will fly directly through the heart of the defenses. And the Germans know it. The fighters begin to reposition again, pulling back slightly, conserving energy, preparing for the moment when the bombers are most vulnerable. Reeves can feel it. A shift, a pause before something worse. The sky ahead is almost completely obscured now, layers of black flak overlapping, forming a dense curtain. It looks solid, impenetrable, and they're flying straight into it. No hesitation, no alternative, just forward. But as the formation crosses a final threshold toward Schweinfurt, a new sound cuts through everything. A deeper roar, different, not engines, not flak, something else. "10:44 a.m., directly over Schweinfurt. The aircraft levels out, not by choice, by necessity. Inside the B-17, every movement tightens into a rigid routine. The pilot holds the yoke steady, fighting the instinct to evade. The bombardier has control now. From this moment until release, the aircraft must fly straight and true, no matter what happens. No matter who dies. Bomb bay doors open. A mechanical whine cuts through the chaos as the heavy doors beneath the fuselage begin to part. Cold air floods upward, carrying with it the sharp smell of oil and metal. The temperature drops even further, biting through gloves and layers. Reeves feels it instantly. So does everyone else. Because open bomb bay doors mean one thing. They are committed. Below, the target emerges through breaks in the smoke. Schweinfurt. Factories clustered along the main river. Long rectangular buildings. Rail lines threading through them like veins. From this altitude, it looks small, controlled, almost harmless. It isn't. The flak confirms that. Explosions erupt directly in their path now, perfectly aligned with their altitude. black burst detonates so close that the aircraft is swallowed in smoke, visibility dropping to almost nothing. The fortress shudders violently as shock waves slam into it from all sides. Reeves can't see the fighters anymore. Only the flak. Only the black. Steady, steady. The bombardier's voice is calm, almost attached. He's lying prone in the nose, eyes fixed through the Norden bomb site, hands making fine adjustments. Wind drift, speed, altitude, every variable calculated in real time. Because once the bombs drop, there is no correction. Behind him, men are dying to keep the aircraft stable. A burst detonates just off the left wing. The explosion is deafening. The aircraft jerks hard, metal shrieking in protest. Warning lights flicker across the instrument panel. One engine sputters, coughing smoke before stabilizing again. Barely. Reeves braces himself, gripping the gun tighter. His knuckles ache inside frozen gloves. But he doesn't notice anymore. Pain has narrowed into something distant. Secondary. Another burst. Closer. This time, shrapnel punches through the fuselage. A sharp, violent tearing sound. Something hits the interior with force, ricocheting off metal, embedding somewhere behind him. A cry follows, cut short almost immediately. Reeves doesn't turn. He can't. If he looks, he'll lose focus. And if he loses focus, they're dead. Fighters incoming. Hi. The warning comes late. They timed it. German fighters surge back into the formation at the exact moment the bombers are locked into their run. No evasive maneuvers. No break in formation. Just straight, predictable flight. The perfect target. BF-109s dive in from above, cannons blazing. The rounds strike with brutal force, punching into wings, cockpits, engines. One fortress ahead takes multiple hits across its nose. The glass shatters instantly, the front of the aircraft dissolving into fragments. It doesn't explode. It just stops being whole. And then it drops. Reeves swings his gun upward, firing in short bursts. A fighter crosses his sights for less than a second. He fires anyway, tracers streaking past, forcing it to veer away. But more replace it, always more. From below, another wave climbs. FW-190s again, coordinated, relentless. They fire as they rise, targeting the bomber's weakest points. The underside, the engines, the bomb bays now hanging open. One rocket strikes AB-17 just as its bombs begin to release. The explosion tears through the fuselage, igniting the payload instantly. The blast is catastrophic. A blinding flash. A shockwave that ripples outward. And then nothing remains. Reeves feels the impact even from a distance, the concussion rocking his own aircraft. He grits his teeth, forcing his eyes forward. The target is directly below now. No turning, no stopping. Bombs away in 10 seconds. 10 seconds. It feels impossible that anything could survive that long. The flak is constant now, overlapping bursts forming a solid field of explosions. The aircraft flies through it blindly, each second a gamble. Another hit. The right wing jolts. Engine 3 sputters violently, smoke pouring out in thick black trails. The aircraft dips slightly before the pilot corrects, muscles straining against controls. Hold it together, someone whispers. 5 seconds. Reeves' world shrinks to the sound of his own breathing, loud and mechanical through the oxygen mask. His vision tunnels, focused only on the space in front of him. 3 seconds. A fighter appears directly ahead, closing fast. Too fast. Reeves fires instinctively, tracers reaching out. The fighter pulls up at the last second, passing just overhead. Gone. Bombs away. The release is sudden, a shift in weight. A subtle lift as the payload drops free. Below, hundreds of bombs fall in tight formation, dark shapes descending toward the factories of Schweinfurt. For a brief moment, everything seems to pause. Then the bombardier's voice cuts through again. Bombs clear. The pilot reacts instantly. Closed doors. Prepare to turn. But the moment of vulnerability has already done its damage. The formation is shattered. Not completely broken, but fractured. Gaps everywhere. Aircraft missing. Others trailing behind, damaged, struggling to keep up. And the fighters, they see it. They know this is the moment. As the bomb bay doors begin to close and the aircraft banks slightly, try to escape the kill zone, the German fighters regroup for one final, concentrated assault. Reeves watches them form up in the distance. Lines of aircraft. Organized. Deliberate. Not scattered attacks anymore. This is something else. Something planned. 10:49 a.m. south of Schweinfurt. The formation turns. Not cleanly. Not together. What was once a rigid lattice of bombers now bends under strain. Sections drifting apart as damaged aircraft struggle to maintain position. The precision that carried them in is gone. In its place, fragmentation. And fragmentation invites death. Stay in formation. Close it up, the pilot shouts, voice cracking through the intercom. But some aircraft can't respond. They're too slow, too damaged, already falling behind. Reeves scans the rear arc, his breath steady but shallow inside the oxygen mask. The air rushing through the fuselage is louder now, colder, sharper. The hole in the tail section has widened, metal peeled back like torn paper. Every gust feels like it might rip more away. Behind them, the sky is filling again. German fighters, regrouped and rearmed, closing in for the withdrawal phase. This is where they excel. Not the initial shock, not the flak corridor. The kill on the way out. Band at 6 o'clock. Multiple. Reeves pivots instantly, swinging the waist gun toward the rear. The first fighters are already in range, silhouettes growing fast against the haze of smoke and cloud. BF-109s lead the charge. They come in low and fast, hugging the blind spots, then pulling up sharply to fire into the tail and waist positions. Their timing is precise, exploiting every weakness in the broken formation. Reeves fires early, forcing one to break off. The recoil pulses through his arms, rhythmic, controlled. Brass casings scatter across the floor, bouncing and sliding with each vibration of the aircraft. Another fighter replaces a first. Always another. This one gets closer. Too close. Cannon fire rips past the fuselage, tearing new holes through the already damaged structure. A round punches through the interior wall, embedding itself somewhere forward with dull, heavy thud. The aircraft shudders, but holds. For now. Tail's gone. We've lost the tail gun, someone yells. Reeves already knows. He saw it, felt it. Now the rear arc is exposed, a widening corridor for incoming fire. The fighters recognize it instantly. They adjust. A formation of FW-190s lines up behind them, maintaining distance just outside the reach of the remaining guns. Then one by one, they dive in, firing concentrated bursts before pulling away. It's methodical, clinical. Each pass strips more from the aircraft. Another hit. The fuselage jerks violently, a sharp metallic crack echoing through the interior. The floor beneath Reeves' boots shifts slightly, just enough to feel wrong. Structural damage. He doesn't think about it. He can't. He fires again, tracking a fighter as it crosses his arc. This time, the tracers connect clearly. The German aircraft jolts, smoke trailing from its engine. It rolls hard to the right, losing altitude. For a moment, Reeves watches it fall. A small victory. But it doesn't change anything, because ahead, another bomber is dying. A.B. 17 just off their right wing begins to drift downward, its formation broken. One engine is completely gone. The nacelle ripped open, flames licking backward along the wing. The aircraft struggles to maintain altitude, nose dipping slightly. Straggler, the worst word in the sky. Within seconds, fighters converge on it. 3, 4, 5 aircraft circling like predators. They attack in sequence, coordinated, relentless. Cannon fire tears through the fuselage, each pass stripping more away. The B-17 doesn't explode. It's dismantled, piece by piece. Reeves keeps his gun trained outward, but his eyes flick back, just for a second, long enough to see the wings snap, long enough to see the aircraft roll, long enough to know no one is getting out. He turns back immediately. Focus. Only focus. Engine 3 failing. The engineer calls out. Reeves feels it. The subtle change in vibration. The uneven rhythm. The aircraft is losing power, losing speed, and speed is survival. The pilot pushes the remaining engines harder, throttles forward, trying to compensate. The fortress groans under the strain, every component pushed to its limit. They can't afford to fall behind. Not now, not here. Another wave approaches. Higher this time. BF-110s again. Reeves recognizes the pattern instantly. Rockets. Break. Rockets incoming. But there's nowhere to break to. The formation is already fractured. Evasive maneuvers risk collision with friendly aircraft. Staying straight invites destruction. They choose straight. The rockets streak in, thin white trails cutting through the air. One passes just beneath their wing, missing by meters. Another detonates behind them, the explosion rocking the aircraft violently. And then, impact, a direct hit on a bomber ahead. The explosion engulfs it completely, fireball expanding outward before collapsing into a trail of smoke and debris. Fragments scatter across the sky, some striking nearby aircraft, causing secondary damage. Reeves ducks instinctively as a piece of debris slams against the fuselage, punching through the outer skin but not penetrating fully. Luck, nothing more. The formation continues to thin. What began as a massive strike force is now a scattered line of survivors, each aircraft fighting its own battle to stay airborne. Below, the German countryside drifts past, calm and untouched, a stark contrast to the chaos above. Fields, roads, small villages, life continuing, unaware of the destruction unfolding overhead, or perhaps aware, watching, waiting. Reeves forces his eyes back to the sky. More fighters. They're not stopping, not even slowing, because they know something the Americans are just beginning to realize. The worst part of the mission isn't the approach. It isn't the bomb run. It's this, the long, exposed journey home. No escort, no cover, just damaged bombers, low on ammunition, low on fuel, and increasingly alone. The radio crackles again. Fragmented voices from other aircraft, calls for help, damage reports, coordinates, and then silence as one signal cuts off mid-transmission. Reeves doesn't need to ask why. Ahead, the horizon stretches out, distant and unreachable. Home lies somewhere beyond it. But between here and there, the fighters are still coming, and they're getting bolder, closer, more aggressive. Reeves adjusts his grip, eyes narrowing as another formation lines up in the distance. This time, they're not spreading out. They're concentrating, massing for something bigger, something final. And as the first of them begins, 10:57 a.m. Western Germany. The sky is thinning. Not the flak, not the fighters, the bombers. What remains of the formation is stretched into a loose, uneven column. Aircraft separated by distance and damage, no longer the interlocking shield they once were. The discipline that carried them into Schweinfurt has eroded under fire, replaced by survival instinct and failing machinery. Reeves feels in the silence between attacks. Shorter now, more dangerous, because the Germans are adapting. They're no longer testing the edges. They're striking the core. High 12. Tight formation. The call comes sharp, urgent. Reeves looks forward, straining past the wing. They're there, a cluster of fighters, not diving immediately, not scattering, holding position, waiting. It's different, calculated. Then they move, not individually. Together, a coordinated wave of BF-109 surges forward, closing the distance head-on. Their approach is direct, aggressive, designed to overwhelm the forward guns and force defensive fire in every direction. The lead bombers open up first. Nose turrets erupt in flame, tracers reaching out in steady streams. The sky fills with intersecting lines of fire, a lethal web meant to break the attack before it reaches lethal range. It doesn't work. The fighters push through. Cannon fire slams into the front of the formation. 1B-17 takes multiple hits across the cockpit. The glass disintegrates instantly, the interior exposed to the freezing air at altitude. The aircraft doesn't veer. It doesn't explode. It just keeps flying for a few seconds. Then it dips, slowly at first, then faster. Gone. Reeves shifts his aim, tracking another fighter as it crosses a formation. He fires in controlled bursts, the rhythm steady despite the chaos. The tracers connect briefly, sparks flashing along the fighter's wing. The German pilot breaks off, but the rest don't. They pass through formation, firing as they go, then split apart, climbing back into position for another run. Relentless, always returning. Ammo check. Someone shouts over the intercom. Reeves doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. He already knows. The ammunition boxes beside him are lighter now. Belts of .50 caliber rounds feed through the gun, but not as thickly as before. Each burst has to count. Each shot matters, because there won't be enough. Another explosion rocks the aircraft, closer than before. The left wing shudders violently, and for a moment, the entire bomber dips, losing altitude. The pilot corrects quickly, but the movement is sluggish. Heavy. Something's wrong. Hydraulics hit, the engineer calls out. Reeves feels it immediately. The subtle resistance in movement, the delay in response. Everything is slower now, more difficult. The aircraft is losing its edge. Behind them, another bomber falls out of formation. This one doesn't explode. It just drifts, engines failing one by one, smoke trailing from each nacelle. The crew tries to keep it level, but it's too damaged, too slow. The fighters see it instantly. They converge. Reeves watches as they circle the straggler, attacking from multiple angles. Cannon fire tears through fuselage, each pass stripping away more of the aircraft. Then, parachutes, small white shapes emerging from the wreckage. 1, 2, 3, more. For a moment, there's relief. Some made it out, but the relief doesn't last. A fighter breaks off in the attack, diving toward the descending parachutes. Reeves freezes, just for a second, long enough to understand what's about to happen. Then he looks away, forces himself back to his gun, because there's nothing he can do, and because the next attack is already beginning. Low 6. Incoming. He turns, muscles reacting before thought. Another wave. FW-190s again. Faster this time. Closer. They're not probing anymore. They're committing. The first fighter opens fire at close range, rounds slamming into the fuselage with brutal force. The aircraft shudders violently, the sound of impacts echoing through the interior like hammer blows. Reeves fires back, tracers cutting across the fighter's path. Too late. It's already passed. Another follows. Then another. Each pass closer than the last. Each one more dangerous. A round punches through the side of the fuselage, tearing past Reeves' position, missing him by inches. He feels the rush of air, the shock of it, but he doesn't stop, can't stop. He keeps firing, because stopping means dying. Engine 3's out, the engineer shouts. This time it's final. The engine goes silent. The change is immediate. A sharp drop in power. The aircraft lurches, struggling to maintain altitude. The remaining engines strain harder, but it's not enough to compensate fully. They're slowing down, and slowing down means straggler. Reeves feels it settle over them like a sentence. Not yet, but soon. The pilot pushes the throttles forward, forcing everything the remaining engines can give. The fortress groans under the pressure, every vibration sharper now, more pronounced. It won't hold forever. Ahead, the formation continues to stretch, the stronger aircraft pulling away, the damaged ones falling behind, and they're somewhere in between. For now, another burst of flak rises from below, less dense than over Schweinfurt, but still deadly. One explosion detonates just off their right wing, the shock wave slamming into the aircraft. A new sound follows, a tearing, different from before. Reeves glances toward the wing. A section of metal has peeled back, flapping violently in the wind. Not critical. Yet, but it won't stay that way. Nothing does up here. The radio crackles again, voices overlapping, fragmented, losing altitude. Need escort. Can't hold. Then silence. One by one, the signals are disappearing. Not because the radios are failing, because the aircraft are. Reeves swallows hard, his throat dry despite the cold. He looks forward. The horizon is still distant, still unreachable, and behind them, the fighters are regrouping again. But this time, something is different. They're not spreading out. They're forming a line, a wide, sweeping arc across the sky, cutting off the path home. Reeves stares at it, trying to understand, trying to process what it means. Then it hits him. They're not just attacking anymore. They're controlling the airspace, hurting. 11:08 a.m. west of Schweinfurt, approaching the Rhine. The sky ahead narrows, not physically, but tactically. What was once open air now feels like a funnel, a channel shaped by enemy intent. The German fighters have spread wide, forming a curved front that stretches across the bomber's path. Not a wall, something worse. A guide, a pressure line, forcing the American formation into a predictable route. Reeves sees it clearly now. Every time a bomber drifts too far left or right, fighters push it back. Quick passes, control bursts, not try and destroy, just to redirect. Herding, like prey. Stay centered, don't drift. The pilot mutters more to himself than anyone else. But staying centered means staying exactly where the Germans want them, exactly where the next attack will come. The formation tightens again, instinctively. Damaged aircraft push closer together, seeking the protection of overlapping guns. It works, partially. The defensive fire grows denser, more intimidating, but it also makes them easier to track, easier to predict. Reeves shifts his stance, boots brace against the vibrating floor. His arms ache from constant recoil, shoulders stiff from tension and cold. He doesn't notice anymore. The discomfort has become baseline, normal. Ahead, the first wave begins. Not a rush, not a dive, a glide. Bf-109s descend gradually from above, maintaining formation as they approach. Their timing is precise, synchronized, each aircraft holding position until the exact moment to fire. Then they open up. Cannons flash in unison, heavy rounds streaking toward the bombers. The concentrated fire is overwhelming, multiple aircraft targeting the same section of the formation. 1B-17 takes the full force. The rounds hit the wing root, tearing through structural supports. The metal buckles instantly, the wing folding upward at an unnatural angle. The aircraft doesn't burn. It just breaks, snaps apart midair, the fuselage separating from the wing in a clean, violent motion. Debris scatters. Silence follows. Then the next wave, FW-190s from below. They climb hard, firing into the underside again, exploiting the same vulnerability. The bombers fire back, tracers fill in the air, but the angles are wrong. The fighters know it. They stay just long enough to strike, then vanish. Reeves tracks one as it climbs past his arc, firing a short burst. The tracers pass close, forcing the pilot to bank away. It's enough, for now, but the pattern is clear. They're alternating. High, then low. Front, then rear. No pause. No gap. The pressure never lifts. Another explosion rocks the aircraft. This one internal. A sharp crack, followed by a sudden drop in noise from the starboard side. Reeves doesn't need to ask. He feels it. Engine 2. Gone. The imbalance is immediate. The aircraft yells slightly, pulling to one side. The pilot fights it, adjusting trim, pushing the remaining engines harder. Too hard. The Fortress groans in response. Every component strained beyond design limits. Hold it together, the co-pilot says, voice tight. Reeves glances forward. Just for a second. The cockpit is a blur of movement. Hands working controls, instruments flickering, warning lights pulsing faintly through the chaos. Then he looks back, because that's where the danger is. Always behind. Another group of fighters forms up. Closer this time. Much closer. They don't wait. They charge. A direct rear assault. Bf-109s closing fast. Guns already firing. The rounds slam into the exposed tail section, tearing through what remains of the rear fuselage. Reeves fires continuously now, longer bursts, less controlled. The tracers reach out in steady streams, forcing some of the fighters to break off early. But not all. One pushes through, two determined. Too close. Cannon fire rips past Reeves' position, punching through the interior. A round strikes the gun mount, sending a jolt through his arms. The weapon shudders violently, almost slipping from his grip. He holds on, barely. The fighter passes overhead, so close he can see the pilot's helmet through the canopy. Then it's gone, but the damage remains. The fuselage behind him is barely intact now, metal twisted and torn, openings exposed in the sky in jagged shapes. The wind howls louder, colder, carrying with it the smell of burning oil. And something else. Fuel. Reeves smells it before he sees it. A thin mist trailing along the wing, catching the light. A leak. Small, but growing. Fuel line hit. The engineer confirms, voice strained. No panic. Just fact. Reeves nods to himself, though no one can see it. Another problem. Another countdown. Below, the terrain shifts. The Rhine River cuts through the landscape, a wide, reflective ribbon marking the boundary they've been fighting to reach. Beyond it lies relative safety. Not complete, but better, much better. They're close, so close, and the Germans know it. The attacks intensify again, not more frequent, more focused. Every strike aimed at finishing the damaged aircraft before they can cross the river, before they can escape. Another bomber ahead takes a direct hit to the fuselage. Fire erupts instantly, spreading along the body of the aircraft. It doesn't break apart. It keeps flying, burning, a moving torch in the sky. For a few seconds, it holds. Then the fire reaches something critical. The explosion is sudden, violent, gone. Reeves doesn't react. He can't. There's no room left for reaction. Only action. Only survival. He adjusts his grip again. Fingers numb now despite the gloves. His movements are slower, less precise, but still enough. Still fighting. Ahead, the river grows larger, closer, a line between life and death. But as the formation approaches it, the fighters make one final adjustment. They pull back, not retreating, repositioning, forming up for one last coordinated strike. Everything they have left. Reeves watches them gather, a dense cluster of aircraft aligning in the distance. He understands immediately. This is it. The last push. "11:14 a.m. The Rhine glints below, a cold silver ribbon slicing to the scarred German countryside. The remaining bombers strain forward, engines groaning, fuselages trembling under the relentless attacks. What was once a proud, massive formation is now a ragged line, aircraft scattered and broken, each one a fragile fortress of metal and steel. Reeves feels it, the fatigue, the numbness, the tension that has settled into every joint, every nerve, every thought. The Germans have regrouped. Not testing now, not probing. They're committing fully. The fighters converge from every angle. Above, below, port, starboard. BF-109s and FW-190s move with precise choreography, targeting the exposed sections of the fragile aircraft. Cannons flash. Tracer fire streams across the sky in thin, deadly ribbons. The first assault comes from above. Reeves swings his waist gun upward, firing a fighter that dives directly into the rear of a nearby bomber. Tracers streak past, hitting the enemy fuselage. Smoke begins to rise from its engine. It breaks away, but another immediately takes its place. A small group of FW-190s surges low, climbing rapidly as they approach the tail of Reeves' fortress. The tail section, already compromised from earlier hits, shudders violently under incoming fire. The rudder twists slightly, leaving the aircraft less stable. The pilot fights to compensate with the remaining controls, hands white around the yoke, muscles screaming from strain. Reeves fires continuously, bursts punctuated by the shuddering impact around him. One round punches through the fuselage just inches from his shoulder, sending shards of aluminum and insulation flying. The wind roars a new gap, cold and sharp, carrying with it the scent of fuel, oil, and gunpowder. The bomber ahead is less fortunate. A direct cannon strike shatters the cockpit windows. The pilot slumps slightly against controls, eyes wide, hands shaking but still gripping the yoke. Flames lick along the nose, consuming wires, hydraulic lines, and insulation. The aircraft dips, pulling dangerously close to the bombers beside it before leveling again. Another explosion, this time on a plane to Reeves' left. The wing folds abruptly. Pieces of the structure tear free, spinning into the void. The crew's voices are cut off instantly, swallowed by the chaos. A parachute emerges from the smoke, but too late to matter. One life saved, perhaps, but the aircraft is gone. Reeves forces his eyes forward. The river is near. Just ahead, beyond the black haze of flak and smoke, is the relative safety of Allied-controlled territory. Every surviving pilot knows it. Every crew member feels it. The instinct to survive clashes violently with the instinct to press on, keep formation, finish the mission, and then the ground bursts to life. Flak has grown thicker near the Rhine, anticipating their escape path. Black clouds erupt below, fragments raining outward, exploding with deafening concussions. The bombers shudder under each detonation, some violently rocked off course. The pilot yanks on the controls repeatedly, compensating for damage, weight shifts, and turbulence. A direct hit strikes the bomber immediately ahead of Reeves. The wing catches fire instantly. Engines falter. One fails entirely. The bomber begins to drift downward. The crew inside scrambles, shouting over the roar of the engines and the explosions. They fire their defensive guns, but the attackers are already gone, circling for the next pass. Reeves feels the fortress dip slightly as turbulence from the explosion passes through. He braces against the floor, fingers tightening around the gun, teeth clenched. Every second is measured, every breath rationed. The oxygen mask is fogged, condensation streaking across the plastic as he exhales in shallow, controlled puffs. Another fighter appears from above. The tracer fire slams past, missing only by inches. Reeves adjusts his aim instinctively, firing short, controlled bursts. The enemy veers off, but not without leaving its mark. The tail section jerks under impact, the rudder twitching, structural stress building, and then the unthinkable. One FW-190 closes in from the side, guns blazing directly into the open bomb bay. A direct hit ignites the payload. Explosions cascade outward as bombs shift violently. The aircraft shudders, then lurches forward as the weight of fuel and ordnance shifts. Reeves is thrown against his harness. "Brace!" someone shouts. The fortress shudders violently, twisting in the thin air, aluminum groaning. Flames lick along the fuselage. Smoke pours into the cabin, thick and acrid. Visibility drops to near zero. The engines roar at maximum, but it's not enough. The aircraft is damaged, vulnerable, exposed. Behind them, more fighters adjust, exploiting every weakness. They attack in waves, swooping low, then climbing high, concentrating fire where the bombers are most fragile. Reeves fires continuously, exhausting his remaining ammunition. Each round is precious, a desperate attempt to keep the predators at bay. The B-17 formation is now almost unrecognizable. Stragglers fall behind, some on fire, some slowly losing altitude, others breaking apart midair. The noise is relentless. Engines, gunfire, explosions, shouts, metal twisting. The cold is biting, the wind howling through every breach in the fuselage. Reeves' world narrows to this. Hold a gun, track the attackers, survive the next pass. He doesn't think of home, doesn't think of family. Survival occupies every thought, every movement. Ahead, the Rhine glimmers again, still a distance away, but visible. Salvation lies beyond, if they can reach it. Every pilot in the formation knows it, and the Germans know it too. The final assault begins. German fighters, massed and coordinated, sweep toward the bombers in tight formation, aiming to pick off the weakened aircraft before they reach the river. Explosions ripple through the remaining bombers, engines failing, wings snapping, fuselages twisting. One by one, planes drop away, consumed by fire or structural failure. Reeves fires until the last rounds feed through the gun. A fighter passes overhead, close enough to see the pilot's eyes. He pulls away, veering just enough to avoid destruction. Only a handful of bombers remain, including Reeves. They fight through the flak, battered, wounded, barely holding together. The Rhine is close now. So close, it feels within reach, yet unattainable in its silver expanse. The German fighters regroup, once more, circling, planning. But something changes. They can't risk diving fully into Allied territory. Their fuel, their orders, their limits. Everything pushes them back. The survivors are beginning to break free. Reeves looks down at the river. The first few bombers cross, engines straining, flak still popping around them. The airspace is thinning. Relief is palpable, but fragile. Every passing second is a gamble. "11:21 a.m. Over the Rhine, Germany. The river stretches beneath them, a glinting silver line dividing chaos from the first taste of safety. For Reeves, the sight is almost surreal. After an hour of relentless assault, the horizon offers something different. Possibility. Not safety yet. Not by far. But a chance to survive. The remaining bombers are ragged. Engines falter on some. Smoke trails from others. Wings dented and scorched. Fuselages pocked with holes. Out of the original formation of nearly 300 fortresses, fewer than half remain. Each aircraft is a survivor of a trial that could have killed them all. Reeves shifts in his harness. His gloves are stiff, his body numb from altitude, cold, and exhaustion. His eyes sweep the sky, tracking the last few fighters that refuse to let them go. A Messerschmitt Bf 109 streaks from the left, then another from the rear, each attack calculated, precise. But the corridor of destruction they flew through is narrowing. The Luftwaffe cannot follow indefinitely without risking their own losses, especially over territory that is increasingly dangerous to them. The survivors sense it instinctively, the predators hesitating, then breaking away in small groups. Reeves takes a deep breath through the oxygen mask, feeling the vibration of the engines beneath him. The battered aircraft holding together despite the damage. He forces himself to focus. Each second still critical. Every movement, every adjustment to gun, every call to the pilot matters. A flash catches his eye. Another bomber is falling, trailing smoke, one wing barely intact. The crew is struggling. They release parachutes, white markers drifting slowly downward. Reeves notes the position, already knowing some will not make it to the ground safely, others too low to reach Allied lines before being captured. The reality is grim. Ahead, the Rhine grows larger, wide, reflective, cold. The forested banks pass beneath, offering cover if they can make it across. The surviving formation begins to compress slightly, a defensive instinct kicking in again. Each bomber overlaps guns with its neighbor, still trying to create what little mutual protection remains. A new threat emerges. Anti-aircraft fire, lighter now, but still sporadic, pops up along the river's edge. Flak bursts whistle upward, exploding just beneath the wings of the crossing bombers. Reeves feels each concussion through the fuselage. Shrapnel pierces aluminum here and there, a reminder that even the escape is perilous. The pilot pushes the remaining engines harder, throttles screaming against the strain. The fortress shudders, groans, but continues. Every fiber of the aircraft seems alive, fighting to survive alongside its crew. Reeves braces against the floor, firing whenever a fighter crosses into range. His arms are numb, but instinct keeps them moving. Every burst counts. Every shot could mean the difference between life and death. One Bf 109 approaches from high altitude, attempting a dive toward the tail of a nearby bomber. Reeves fires a short burst, hitting the engine cowling. The fighter veers slightly, just enough to miss its target. Another behind it breaks off, reassessing, perhaps aware that the Americans are close to cover. The river is directly below now. The water reflects the late morning sun, turning silver against a backdrop of black smoke from destroyed bombers and burning fields. Reeves notes the subtle difference in air pressure, the drop in turbulence as they approach the wider, open stretch of the river. Relief is palpable, but still tentative. A heavily damaged B-17 veers slightly off course, engine sputtering, flaps damaged. Reeves watches it carefully, knowing the danger is still present. The Germans could have one final strike in them, one precise attack that could send any of the survivors tumbling into the river below. But the Luftwaffe hesitates. They're pushing limits, fuel running low, coordination stretched thin. Some of the fighters peel off entirely, banking back toward bases still deep in Germany. Others circle briefly, assessing survivors, but the risk of chasing them across the Rhine is too high. Reeves' formation begins to tighten slightly, instinctively. The remaining aircraft, fewer than 100, now glide over the river, engines screaming, fuselages groaning, wounded but alive. The sound of gunfire has lessened. The flak is now mostly behind. Inside the fortress, the crew allows themselves a moment of awareness. Hands unclench slightly. Eyes blink more freely. Muscles relax just enough to notice the cold, the fatigue, the smell of oil, cordite, and smoke. Some speak quietly, checking systems, confirming engine status, assessing damage. Each action deliberate, each breath measured. Reeves feels a subtle shift in tension. The immediate danger isn't over. Not yet, but the Germans are no longer dictating the terms. The rhythm of the mission, the brutal push through the gauntlet, has slowed. Survival instincts now guide each movement rather than raw reaction to attack. Ahead, Allied-controlled airspace looms, not far. The far banks of the Rhine, clear by reconnaissance, offer potential landing zones, or at least safe passage. Reeves forces his eyes forward, ignoring the exhaustion burning his limbs. Each second is precious. Every remaining round of ammunition, every throttle adjustment, every movement counts. One bomber, directly ahead, is struggling. Its starboard engine has failed entirely. Reeves watches as the crew fights to maintain altitude, using trim and flaps to compensate. Another fighter appears briefly, hesitant, then breaks off. The damaged bomber survives. For now, the sound of the fortress engines dominates again. The roar fills the cabin. The wind cuts through the torn fuselage, a constant reminder of vulnerability. Reeves focuses, tracking the skies, scanning the horizon for threats. Nothing appears immediately. The flak has diminished. The Luftwaffe has pulled back. The river stretches ahead. The immediate danger of the corridor is past. For the first time in over 40 minutes, Reeves allows himself to process the reality. They are crossing. They are escaping. They have survived the second Schweinfurt raid. The cost is clear. Half the bombers are gone. Many crews will never return. Smoke rises over the landscape, marking the trail of destruction. But the survivors push on, wounded but airborne, engines straining, bodies exhausted, hearts still beating against impossible odds. Reeves exhales slowly, the oxygen mask fogging. His hands unclench slightly from the gun, but they remain tense, ready. Every moment has demanded vigilance, courage, calculation, and for now it has paid off. The formation begins to spread, easing toward the relative safety of Allied airspace. Reeves takes a slow, deliberate breath. He scans the sky one last time, expecting another attack. Some will not make it back. Many will be captured, injured, or haunted forever by the memory of this flight. But the remaining fortresses are alive, their crews still in the sky, and the vital factories of Schweinfurt lie behind them, heavily damaged, their destruction a hard-won victory. The river flows beneath, indifferent to the human struggle above. It reflects the sky, the sun, and the smoke, holding no judgment, offering no solace, only the path forward. Reeves allows himself a single thought, fleeting, almost forbidden. They made it. The sky is quiet. For now.